movie that changed the whole trajectory of my life was Vision Quest.
Oh yeah, well yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah,
Vision Quest, man.
The 1980s gave us many sports films, and of course, to go on top of that, teen dramas, or films about teen angst, or what teenagers were going through at a said point in time in their lives. For example, The Breakfast Club, or 16 Candles, or Pretty in Pink. Of course, I'm kind of being a little bit narrow with that selection of films, but there is still one film that finds a way to separate itself from the rest, and that film is Vision Quest, starring Matthew Modine and Linda Fiorentino. At its core, it's really just a simple story of a senior in high school wanting to make his mark before graduation. But it's what he learns along the way that allows this film to still connect with modern audiences, and not just the audiences of that time. Just ask Dana White his feelings on this film. We shall come back to the UFC president soon, but what are the lessons that main character Louden Swain learned while trying to make his mark, or the so-called Vision Quest? And that's what we're going to be discussing in this video, and why you should go watch the film. Just remember, there are going to be spoilers in this video, so let's talk about Vision Quest.
School, and nobody kind of knew who he was. He wasn't popular or any of that kind of shit. And he decided that that was the year that he was going to make his mark. And he was a good wrestler at 178 pounds, but he was going to move down to 160 something to take on the Shoot, the scariest guy and the whatever. But there's all these little things in the movie that really lay out what life is all about.
And that, of course, is not going to be the only bit from that 3-minute segment that Dana did with Lex Friedman. But the thing is this right here. It's pretty much what he indicated there. It's the lessons that Louden learns along the way. Now, before we fully dig into this video, I need to kind of break down how the video is going to go. So part one of this video is going to be about Louden Swain, who he is and what exactly it is that he is up to, what he wants. And part two is going to be about the lessons that he learns. By the way, a large part of the lessons that he learns is from the character that is portrayed by Linda Fiorentino. Carla, who is, by the way, an aspiring artist, and also at the exact same time a bit of a brief love interest for Louden. But we shall come to that in part two, and then part three is going to be kind of a why it still connects to this day and what the overall message of the film really was. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about Vision Quest.
My name's Louden Swain, and last week I turned 18. I wasn't ready for it. I haven't done anything yet, so I made this deal with myself. This is the year I make my mark.
Louden Swain, as you heard in that segment, is an 18-year-old senior and really kind of the star of his school's wrestling team. And he wants to make his mark, and of course he plans to drop 2 weight classes to wrestle Shoot, a man that many feel is the best wrestler in the circuit, and Louden chooses to push his body through a rough weight cut to get down to the weight needed to compete against Shoot. And while initially alienating his teammates, but he does ultimately win them over. But of course, it's the lessons that he learns in the process of his own struggle. For example, he learns what it means to have a crush on someone, that of course being Carla, but we'll get to that soon. But also what it means to not let folks down and embrace his gifts, the famous Pele speech, which will come up a bit later on in the video. But he also learns from a poem what it's like to not have any time left at all, or what it's like to waste your time in this existence.
Yeah, kind of. I figure the girl in the poem's about my age. She's feeling sad about the leaves falling from the trees, and the poet, he tells her that what she's really sad about is that she's beginning to realize that she's going to die someday too. But the thing is, she's already dying.
Is that a good thing to realize, or I think maybe we'd be better off not thinking about it?
I don't know. Nobody likes to think about it. I don't like to think about it. But if you don't, you might go through life thinking you got plenty of time. You put off the really important stuff till later, and pretty soon before you know it, there's no more time left, and you've blown it.
The poem speaks to Louden. It speaks to him on a pretty deep level. It's basically telling him that he needs to take advantage of the day and not put off what needs to be taken care of right away. It also ties into the end of the film and the last words that are spoken in this film from Louden himself, and also that Pele speech, which I promise we will get to shortly. But what exactly is Louden actually about to go through? Like, what exactly is his journey? Well, it's exactly what his friend Kush called a vision quest. So let's talk about the vision quest.
And that's when it was revealed to me what you're really doing. Yeah? What am I really doing? You're on a vision quest, man. You're trying to find your place in the circle.
Louden's vision quest is not so much about learning about life, but it's also about learning about himself, as in who he really is. You see, Louden learns that in making your mark, sacrifice has to happen. He obviously goes through the weight cut. He faints, he bleeds, he even loses a wrestling match due to his nosebleed, and of course this also leads to a confrontation with his rival Shoot, the man he intends to challenge, but he also finds out in this moment that he cannot be psyched out. He's focused, he's driven, or that is at least until the nosebleeds persist, and of course love finds a way to complicate things. And of course, when visiting Gene, a man that he works with at the hotel that he works at, Louden, considering giving up, he's kind of given that little motivation that he needs to go back and actually finish up his journey.
Flips into a somersault and kicks the ball in, upside down and backwards. The goddamn goalie never knew what the fuck hit him. Pele gets excited and he rips off his jersey. And I'm here sitting alone in my room. I start crying. Yeah, that's right, I start crying. Because another human being, a species which I happen to belong to, would kick a ball, lift himself. The rest of us sat as human beings up to a better place to be, if only for a minute.
Now, obviously, there's a lot more to this little bit than what you guys just saw. As a matter of fact, you find out that Gene was in the process of going down to the gym to see Louden wrestle. And it's kind of sort of a bit of a nod to saying to him, look, man, you know, you've set something up. You need to go for it, obviously. And you also need to understand that there are people out there who are wanting to show up and actually watch you do your thing. It's exactly what it is that you've been sacrificing for this entire time. You've gone through nosebleeds. You've lost a wrestling match. You've actually sacrificed a lot to get to this point, and we would like to see you fulfill what it is that you've been going after. During this vision quest, Louden sort of finds out exactly how tough of a person that he is, but he learned a lot about himself as a person. And it also goes back to that poem. It goes back to the fact that you have things in your life. You have gifts. You have certain talents that you, quite frankly, should in fact use. It's not just life that's being wasted, but also your talents. And it sort of goes back to the whole notion that people, for the most part, or at least people like Gene, actually live in some form of regret. Like, God, man, I wish I had done that. Man, I wish I could do a lot better. Man, I wish I could do what he does. It's envy, but it's a healthy type of envy. It's something that motivates a person to strive for greatness. And Gene sees that, you know, Louden has this, and of course he encourages him to go out there and actually use his gifts. Now, this is probably going to run in contrast to the video that I have coming out on the film Rudy, which, by the way, may come out before this video depending on the copyright release. But in the case of the film Rudy, Rudy was actually using the other gifts that God had given him because he wasn't very talented, unlike in the case of Louden, who was in fact very much a talented performer, a talented athlete, someone who actually had the physical attributes and capabilities, and also to go on top of that, had proven it in his sport. In the case of Vision Quest, you have a person with the capability who knows he has the capability, but for some odd reason, he chooses to kind of take a bit of a back seat, and self-doubt begins to creep in, mostly because of what he's actually been sacrificing. And to go on top of that, there is the old, let's just say, thing called love, which of course is where we're going to get to the next part. So let's talk about Carla.
I think a lot about those 6 minutes with Shoot and the time I spent with Carla that season. Cooch had it right. It was a vision quest. But all I ever settled for was that we're born to live and then to die, and we gotta do it alone, each in his own way. And I guess that's why we ought to love those people who deserve it like there's no tomorrow.
And it's that quote that is the secondary lesson that Louden learns through this entire process, and he learns it through Carla. So let me go ahead and kind of explain Carla for you guys. Carla is a aspiring artist from Trenton, New Jersey, traveling out to San Francisco. And if I didn't say this before, I'll say it now, and I'll address it towards the end of the video. It's also led to some form of confusion about where this movie was filmed at. But still, with Carla, it's basically, I wouldn't say it's his first true love, but it's actually his first actual crush. Carla, after her car breaks down, is staying with the mechanic who, of course, is working on her car. That mechanic happens to be Louden's father. There's push-pull, bits and pieces of drama, some playing hard to get, but ultimately, at the end of the day, Carla ultimately relents to Louden. There's even the whole sequence where Louden's teacher goes on a date with her, and Louden does, in fact, eventually confront his teacher about this more towards the end of the film. By the way, it seems even a little bit more screwed up given the fact that Louden had confided in said teacher about his feelings for Carla. But, of course, there's a lesson to be learned there, which, of course, is how to handle things professionally. Louden does, in fact, learn this. And what Carla seems to help Louden to understand is that, yes, there are people out there that you do, in fact, create relationships with. And, of course, during this vision quest, you also find out that there are people out there, the ones you hold closest, that it's nothing wrong for you to hold on to them tight, even if they're not going to be in your life forever. I mean, she does ultimately break up with him, but she's also the one who gives him those last bits of motivation before his match with Shoot. And of course, she stays for the whole show. She stays to watch him win his match against Shoot and basically become the best wrestler in the circuit. What he learned was trial and error. Like I said, it's not the relationship he may have wanted at that time, seeing how it was mostly hormonal, but he did learn a little bit about said topic, that of course being the topic of love. Which also brings us to the other lessons that Louden learned through this vision quest, so let's talk about a few of those. One of the underlying themes of this film is struggling with self-identification, and what I mean by self-identification is really more self-actualization or self-realization. This right here is done through the character of Cooch, who, for the most part, carries on the persona that he is a native. But it's after Louden witnesses a fight between Cooch and his father that Cooch finally comes to the realization that, yeah, this entire thing is fake, man. Like, I've been putting on this entire time. Case in point.
I figure all this is the first period, Cooch. Pretty soon we'll be in control of our own lives.
What lives, man? This is my last wrestling season. I'll be the fucking Navy this time next year.
Come on, Cooch, man. You'll be the first Indian president.
Sure, man, except for one thing, I ain't no fucking Indian. That's just shit I made up in my head.
Cooch could very easily be dismissed as another nerd or a geek that Louden would want nothing to do with, but Louden does not do that. He remains friends with Cooch. As a matter of fact, it's Cooch who initially challenges Louden when Louden, at the very beginning of the film, tells his coach that he's going to be dropping not only one weight class, but 2 weight classes, and the next thing you know, that's, the moment where Louden begins his true vision quest, in my opinion, because right after he announces his goals, he's immediately challenged on this, and Louden, of course, does respond to the challenge and does eventually win. Of course, Cooch also learns as well not to hold a grudge here, but as you guys can see, Louden eventually wins over teammates that he ultimately alienated, or he had alienated at the very start. And he does this mostly with the board scene that you see right here in the B-roll footage where he climbs it, which is a very, very difficult exercise for even the most ardent of wrestlers to do. Louden learns throughout this entire process not only about relationships, but he also learns to challenge his teammates. He also learns how to accept and respond to challenges himself. It's really a film more about learning who you are and learning about life through basically one whole period of a year. It's like I said, it's a film that still resonates with so many to this day, and not only does it resonate and connect, and this, of course, is why you should go watch Vision Quest, because it's never too late. As long as you are trying and as long as you understand that there is life to live and you don't need to waste your time, and that you're in that situation where you have a goal, you need to always strive for it. Yes, it's a bit of a motivational film, but quite useful actually, and told very, very well. Which is something that a lot of stories don't do, is actually tell their story very well. Lots of good stories out there, but if they're told incorrectly, they'll find a way to not connect. Whereas in the case of Vision Quest, it does. Now, there is something that I do want to end the video on, and it's two very, very quick things. One of these I alluded to earlier, and that right there, of course, was about Carla. Now, the character of Carla, I mentioned earlier, she is from Trenton, New Jersey, and it's led a lot of people to believe that the film or the movie was made in New Jersey. That's not correct. It was filmed in Spokane, Washington. And the other thing that I want to address is the usage of the song Only the Young. So bear with me on this one. I'm going to link the full episode of the Behind the Music special, or at least the updated and remastered version, into the comment section for you guys on the band Journey, where the story is told in much more detail, but a basic summary. So the band Journey, they received a letter from a young fan, and I'm going to have a bit of a problem pronouncing this, but 16-year-old Kenny Sikaluk, it was actually his mother who wrote the letter. Kenny was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis, and he was actually going through a, let's just say he was going through the late stages of said illness. And ultimately what ended up happening was the band chose to write a song, and the song that was written was, of course, Only the Young. They actually traveled out of Ohio to his bedside right before he died, and the way the story is told, especially from keyboardist Jonathan Kane's perspective, is quite heartbreaking. And like I said, the full story will be in the comments section, and like I said, I hope you guys go check it out. But they gave him the Walkman to listen to the song, and he was the first one to actually hear the song, and he supposedly died sometime right after it. Like I said, this is basically a summary of the story. The full story is in the description box, and obviously much more in detail, and also the episode Behind the Music and the comment section. But during the visit, they had actually given Kenny a autographed 49ers helmet. They also gave him an autographed album. The album that we think may have been autographed was the album Frontiers, which gave us this all-time classic. It's believed that the song Only the Young was used for this soundtrack because of the fact that the story focuses so much on youth, and the fact that youth should never waste its time. Or at least that is the reason that I have always felt that this song was actually used. I understand that maybe I did not do the best job of explaining what the directors and the writers of the film actually wanted, but the song sort of captures the spirit of the message of the film, which is basically to never waste your talents, never waste your gifts, and don't waste your time. Which, of course, runs back to the UFC president.
You're wrestling this guy tonight? And he's like, yeah, but why would you? You're going to get docked a night's pay and all this other shit. He says, you know what, man? Then it all gets laid out. I get the goosebumps even telling you this fucking
Is that
part
the Pele speech?
Pele, yeah. When he's saying about, you know, I'm fucking cooking in an overnight hotel fucking thing, and I live in this shitty apartment. A human being can lift himself upside down and backwards and kick a ball into a fucking net, and the whole stadium goes crazy, and this guy runs around, and I'm sitting here in my fucking apartment alone, and I start crying. Yeah.
Which the song and film do in fact encapsulate the message. By the way, speaking of the UFC president, speaking of Dana White, and speaking of wrestling, there's a phrase, and I even use this phrase on my channel when things would go down for me. The phrase is hands up, chin down. That is a reference to wrestlers, especially also UFC fighters, to basically plunge forward towards the challenge. Regardless of who your opponent is, just keep going forward. Not only is it because it's your best chance of winning, but also should you lose, it's also the best way for a person to go out. And to go on top of that, it also serves to remind us to never give up and not put off tomorrow what we should be doing today. And like I said, that message is very powerful, even to this day, and the film still resonates with its viewers. But guys, these were just my thoughts. You tell me what you think. If you guys can, please leave a like, please comment, please consider subscribing. If you made it this far into the video, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later.